Well, hey there, our amazing Elevate Church online community. Great to have you with us today. I think, well, am I standing in for Tom Murphy this week, or is it me? Anyway, look, great to have you here, like I said, especially those of you joining us for the first time. Extra welcome to you. Now, here's an opportunity, if you haven't already, is to subscribe to this channel. We're seeing a growing number of people do that. If you haven't yet done that, do that for sure. And we want to make sure you get notifications that we're back, because we put together and publish and share an online experience every single week, and we don't want you to miss out. Another thing we do every single week is we worship together. Even though we're all scattered around the world, we worship together. And so this week's incredible worship partner, they're one of my favorites, is the Recording Collective. And these may be songs you're familiar with, or maybe they're not. We'll put the lyrics on the screen, and wherever you are, you can sing along.
I'm caught up in your presence. I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. Ooh. And I'm sorry when I've come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm caught up in your presence. I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. I just want you and nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you and nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you and nothing else. nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, nothing else, oh God, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, nothing else, nothing else, nothing else, oh, nothing else will do. I just want you, and nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. Nothing else will do. No one else will do. If it's not you, Jesus, it won't satisfy my heart. I was made for you and you alone. I'm coming back to the heart of worship, coming back to the heart of worship, and it's you, Lord, it's you, Lord, it's you, Lord, it's you, Lord, just want you. Caught up in your presence, I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessing. Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you.
Who am I that the highest king would welcome me? I was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Oh, his love for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. Free last, he has ransomed me, his grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free, oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God, yes I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child
You mustn't settle. You cannot quit.
That's one small step for man.
This year is yours for the taking.
One giant leap for mankind.
A mountain to conquer, a giant to slay.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
That proverbial line in the sand in the journey of life. God is with you. Step out.
I have a dream today.
He is for you. Step up.
You and I were saved by the cross.
Let nothing hold you back.
Great moments are born from great opportunity.
Believe this is your year.
Now it's time to see who has the heart.
Declare it.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that.
Then make it so.
Well, hey there, Elevate friends and family. Great to have you with us today as we are well and truly into 2025, past the halfway mark of the January beginning, and really leaning into this new year. We've felt God telling us and declaring for us as Elevate Church, both individually and corporately, that this is going to be a year of new transformation. So what we're doing is we're making some declarations in response to that. Things that we're saying that moving beyond, I'll try, or I wish, or I hope, and just declaring, drawing a line in the sand and stepping over that and saying, with these key things in these key areas, I'm not going to step back. There's no turning back. And week one, we talked about the consistency superpower and made the declaration that this year, with God's help and empowered by His Holy Spirit, I will be a person of consistency. Last week, we talked about the wisdom superpower and declared that I will seek wisdom in 2025. So listen, if you missed either of those, I encourage you to either go back and watch them on this platform, or you can listen to them on your favorite audio podcast. Search Elevate Church Perth, and they'll be there. Today, I want to talk about another superpower. Like the first two, not everyone has it, but everyone, especially every Jesus follower, actually has access to it. And it's the forgiveness superpower. Now, the topic of forgiveness is not a marginal topic. When you read through God's word, you see it referenced again and again and again. Lots of instruction around how important it is to forgive. It shouldn't come as a surprise to any of us that it's not a marginal topic, simply for the fact that it relates to all of us. Like, all of us have reason, or have had reasons, or will have reasons to forgive people in the future. You know the deal. You can remember, or you've experienced someone that's dinged you. You've experienced being stabbed in the back. You've experienced being lied about. These are all bad actors that are candidates for forgiveness. Maybe worse still, somebody abused you. Maybe somebody abandoned you. The list can run long, and actually the time frame can run long. For some of us, it maybe last week somebody did something that we need to consider forgiving them. Maybe last year, maybe last decade, maybe even long before that. There's somebody or some group of people in your past that you need to forgive. And these come up in all sorts of settings. They come up in relationships, they come up in businesses, workplaces, they come up in family settings, just these bad actors and their bad actions that leave a wound that God says we need to forgive them for their bad actions. And look, there's lots of reasons God gives for the importance of forgiveness. I just want to drill into two of the biggies today. And the first one is this. The first one, I could say, forgiven people forgive people, which kind of implies that it's automatic. And best case scenario, it probably should be, but let's just say it in an honest way. Let me call it this: forgiven people should forgive people. Let's have an honest moment. I can almost certainly guarantee that none of us have any issue with the topic or the concept of forgiveness when it comes to other people forgiving us. You know, we do wrong things, we say wrong things, we ding other people, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally. And when we do, hopefully we go, well, you know, I think that I deserve to be forgiven. Where people tend to get a little bit tripped up or a little bit stuck around this area of forgiveness is literally about God calling us to forgive other people who have been bad actors and affected us. And Jesus knows this. He knows that there's kind of two sides to this story, two reactions that we tend to have. So let's get your smartphone camera, scan this flow code. It's going to take you to Matthew chapter 18. And while you're doing that, let me just set this up. So I'm going to drop you into a story that Jesus told. It's a fictional story, but it's a story that he told to make a very important point. Now, Peter, one of his chosen 12, had just asked him, hey, Lord, if someone wrongs us, how many times should we forgive them? And, you know, Jesus said, like, a lot. And then he went on to tell this story. I'm going to read it to you. You can follow along if you've scanned that flow code, of course. I'm going to read it to you. There's three characters in this story. Let me just set that up. There's three characters in this story. The first one is God. You'll see him referenced as like the master or the rich man. The second character is us, you and me. And we're people that have done wrong in God's sight. And then there's a third character that Jesus introduces, and that's someone that's done wrong to us. Okay? All right. So with that lens, God, you, and a bad actor towards us, Jesus tells this story. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. As he began the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 bags of gold was brought to him. That's a lot of gold. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold to repay the debt. This is us falling in front of God's judgment, unable to pay the debt based on what we've done wrong in God's sight. Well, the servant fell on his knees before him because he couldn't repay it. It was impossible. Be patient with me, he begged, and I'll pay back everything, which he knew wasn't true, and the king would have known that's not true. Well, the servant's master took pity on him, canceled his debt, and let him go. This is called forgiveness, people. But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 silver coins. Not much. He grabbed him and began to choke him. Pay back what you owe me, he demanded. Well, his fellow servant fell on his knees and begged him, be patient with me and I'll pay it back. Very familiar words. But the first guy, you, me, refused. The forgiven ones refused. Instead, he went off and he had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what had happened, they were outraged and went and told their master everything that had happened. And then the master called the servant in. You wicked servant, he said, I canceled all that debt of yours because you begged me to. I forgave you because you asked me. I forgave you something that you couldn't pay back yourself. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant, just as I had on you? And in anger, his master handed him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all that he owed. And this is how my heavenly Father, Jesus, about to drop the mic, will treat each of you unless you forgive your brother or sister from your heart. So let me say it again. Best case scenario, Jesus holds up the standard that forgiven people should forgive people. And at the risk of oversimplifying things, one of the, telling signs of us being unwilling to forgive other people maybe points to the realization that we don't fully appreciate or aren't fully grateful for the forgiveness that we've received. Because we said, well, we deserved that forgiveness, which we didn't, but that person doesn't. Well, I'll come to that. But here's the great thing. When we do forgive other people, we demonstrate something of the nature and character of God in the world that we live in. So that's the first reason that God talks so much about forgiveness, that forgiven people should forgive people. And then there's another reason. And this reason, the writer of the letter to the Hebrew people introduces this phrase, the root of bitterness. That when something or someone does something wrong to us, if that's left unaddressed, what can happen is the root of bitterness can start to grow in our lives. And here's the important thing not to overlook. The root of bitterness is actually set up by the devil. Okay? It's not unimportant. It's not trivial. His intent is to drive that root of bitterness so deep in your life that you are tethered to your damaged past and can't move on freely into the future. He wants to limit your life. And in fact, worst case scenario, he wants that root of bitterness to actually start to eat you alive from the inside out, eat you alive mentally, eat you alive emotionally, and even eat you alive physically. And that, being limited and ultimately dying, it's not God's best. God's best is for us to live free. So he confronts this idea of allowing this root of bitterness to actually take hold and remain unaddressed. And in fact, here's the great news. You actually have more control over this than you might realize. Now, as painful it is to remind us all, in just 2 months' time, it will be 5 years since the world started retreating into lockdown mode. And I'm sure you remember it quite well. And things got a little bit quirky. You know, like stuff started to blow up. People started to do things they've never done before. Banana bread became a thing. Making your own sourdough became a thing. Starting a backyard vegetable garden. Raising chickens at home became a thing. Well, here's another one that you might remember. Becoming a plant parent of indoor plants. Yes, if you look over my shoulder, you'll notice I am a plant parent. Any plant parents out there? Indoor plant parents? I'd ask you if any of you have killed some, but look, we know that's kind of comes with the territory. But one of the things that plant parents, well, smart ones like me, have invested in is a soil moisture meter. A soil moisture meter. In fact, I have one just here. Sorry, didn't have this in my notes. Here it is. A soil, $20, 15, something like that, Amazon, local hardware store. And the idea is you get this little probe and you put that into the soil of your plant. You're testing for moisture, but you're not testing for moisture in the leaves, you're testing for moisture around the roots, because here's what plant parents know. When it comes to indoor plants, if you don't water the roots, they will not grow. Now, that's a bad thing when it comes to indoor plant parenting, but it is a vital, vital lesson to learn when it comes to the root of bitterness. If you don't water it, it will not grow. And in fact, by not watering the root of bitterness, you create space you choke up the supply line and you create space for joy and life and freedom to actually blossom in its place. So whether that root of bitterness, if that's you, started last month, last year, last decade, even longer, like I said, whatever it is, just recognize it's impossible to move forward into the life God has for you, the freedom, the joy, the transformation, if you allow that root of bitterness to take hold and to remain holding you back. So my prayer today is that this message and our online experience today would be a catalyst for you to choke off the supply line to the root of bitterness and to instead allow God's life and joy and freedom to blossom in its place. Now, here's something that just blows my mind about Jesus and about forgiveness. And that's the fact that Jesus rendered forgiveness in real time. And not just in real time, but at a time where it was the worst of the worst of the worst. You talk about being dinged up, lied about, betrayed. Jesus was hanging on the cross, breathing his final breaths and speaking his final words. And he chose to ask something of his Father by saying, Father, forgive them. Like he's literally hanging on the cross, looking at the people who put him there, not just the physical soldiers who nailed him to the cross, but the ones that accused him, the ones that sentenced him, the ones that mocked him, the ones that lied about him. And he said, while he was hanging on the cross, not 6 months later, not 5, he said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. And when I say that blows my mind, is like, that's the gold standard to forgive in real time. But I know, and I'm kind of confident you know, that that's easier said than done. That almost always there's a lag between when the bad actors did the bad actions and when you and I can bring ourselves to contemplate forgiving them. And I know this firsthand. Literally this time last year, there was a small group of bad actors who intentionally came after me, spreading lies, deception, there was betrayal, and it left me dinged up. In fact, I'll say it this way, I experienced the most emotional pain that I've ever experienced in my life. And it took me 6 months before I was even able to consider forgiving them. I couldn't even bring myself in that first 6 months to even consider forgiving them because I just felt like I was emotionally underwater. And my initial focus was just to get my head above water. And only then, and that took 6 months, could I then take a breath and consider starting to forgive them. And that might be you. Forgiveness is not necessarily instantaneous like Jesus did. Having said that, and I said for me, it took 6 months, you might have had someone that's dinged you and it's less than 6 months. You might have someone in your past that's dinged you and it's been much, 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 much longer than 6 months, and you still can't quite bring yourself to forgive them. And here's my thing. I don't advocate forced forgiveness. You know, sometimes it's a process. You might need some professional help to get your head above water. The open wounds may be bleeding so profusely that let's address the wounds first. But my encouragement is make forgiveness an aspirational goal. Even if you're not there yet, make it an aspirational goal. Begin moving in that direction. Embark on the journey to the frontier of forgiveness, because it's there that you'll start to experience the root of bitterness being choked off, the people, and the bad actors of your past and the damage that they cause, no longer holding you back into the future that God's got for you. Make forgiveness an aspirational goal. Now, real quickly, I'm aware, both from my own life and from church leadership for nearly 3 decades now, that there's some obstacles. There's some things that, we throw up as to say, well, yeah, I get that forgiveness is important. I get that God sort of instructs us to do it. I get that forgiven people should forgive people. I get that there's freedom if I don't water the root of bitterness. Yeah. But, and then we throw up some obstacles. Let me just fly over 3. There's a long list, but let me just fly over 3 really, really quickly. And I wonder if any of these are something you can relate to. And if so, don't allow them to be obstacles going into 2025. Here's the first one. You're fixated on justice. Now, you'll notice justice is in inverted commas because really what too many people are focused on is retaliation. Your slogan is, I don't get mad, I get even. And it's all about, they did this to me, like you quote Jesus. Jesus said, do to others what they did to you, which, just for the record, that's not what he said. He said, do to others what you want them to do to you. So if you want them to forgive you, well, maybe think about forgiving them. But look, I get it. I live in the same world that you do. There may be a case for retribution. Those people may... you might get your day in court. You might get to actually confront them, tell your story, bring the truth out into the light, whatever it is, or you might not. Either way, don't sit around waiting, plotting, putting the idea of forgiveness in a holding pattern until you can get even, justice gets served. Because here's the reality. While you're holding the grudge is actually holding you. And look, your hope that by not forgiving them, because you want to make them pay, that's going to cause them some pain, I can tell you this, it kind of generally doesn't. It's only you that is held back. All right. Now, here's another one. Well, they don't deserve it. I mean, if you knew what they did, if you knew how much pain their actions caused, if you knew how long it went on for, then you'd understand why I just can't forgive them. Or then we add to this, and they haven't even apologized for it. Okay, well, look, I never want to trivialize what some of you have potentially gone through, what some of you have experienced, some bad actions by some very bad actors. That's likely the case for some of us here today. But it's possible, and I think Jesus demonstrated this for us, it's possible with God's help to even forgive the worst of the worst. See, forgiveness isn't about the bad actors deserving it, because forgiveness is ultimately about us, not about them, about us choosing to not water the root of bitterness and then instead to live free. So my encouragement to you is don't let the bad actors in your past cause you to not experience freedom in your future. And then there's this one, real quickly. This is the one I think that kind of gets overlooked, but we somehow and often we kind of feel it intuitively. even if we've never necessarily conceptualized it formally. And it's this, that you kind of feel a reluctance to let them back in. You know, they might have been people that you're very close to, and they did some things that caused some very deep wounds for you. And the reason you can't forgive them is you've kind of concluded that gift wrapped with the notion of forgiveness means that I have to let them back in. And here's what I want you to understand today. Forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same things. See, the goal of forgiveness is you to live free. The goal of reconciliation is to have some level of restoration of the relationship. And that could happen, but it's not essential. Those things are not gift wrapped together. They're two separate things. And sometimes reconciliation and restoration is a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. If that person is a repeat offender, it's a terrible idea. In fact, oftentimes, one of the things that you need to work on, and you might need to get some professional help with this, is to set up some boundaries to prevent that person having the opportunity and the access to do again what they did in the past. But that's separate from forgiveness. So you can forgive without being reconciled to that person. So here's the thing, and I've been hitting this recently with a lot of people in my sphere. Jesus calls us to unconditional love, but he doesn't ever call us to unconditional trust. And forgiveness is very, very much a part of unconditional love, but it's not the same as unconditional trust. Don't confuse the two. You can forgive someone and never trust them again. And that's not me being cynical. That's just saying that's about you living free. They damaged you in the past, leave the damage in the past, and maybe oftentimes leave the people in the past. Hello. All right. That's a whole message for another time. Maybe I'll talk about it another time. But here's what I want to do today. How about you join me, if you're ready, to make this week's declaration, and it goes exactly like this. This year, with God's help and empowered by his Holy Spirit, I will move to the frontier of forgiveness. Hey, one of the reasons we can do this every single week is because people like you and me invest financially into the ministry of Elevate Church. And so for those of you that have been doing that consistently, well done. It's a brand new year. Maybe this is a first new step you can take. So the details are on the screen now. If you're in Australia, they're going to point you to our website, which has got our bank details. You can do a direct transfer there. That's how we give from our family. Or if anywhere in the world, you can download our Elevate Church AU app, and you can give using a credit card or a debit card. And that just allows us to be resourced, to reach and build into more people just like you. All right, next week we're going to continue our series, I Declare. So be here, bring some people, and let's continue to position ourselves for 2025 to be the most transformative year